Hi everyone, I'm Susan Birch, the Health Detective, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today, it gives me great pleasure to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Tim Shurr. And Tim is the world's best unconscious belief specialist. And I'm going to get him to explain to you what that is and the kind of work that he does. But it is really important when we are wanting to upgrade our lives in any areas that we have. So Tim, thanks for coming along, and lovely to see you and have you this morning in California.
Yes, thank you, Susan. It's an honor to be on your show. I always love spending time with you.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did, what does an unconscious belief specialist do? How did you get into this work? Love to hear more about that.
So another way of describing what I do is I've been a multi-award-winning hypnotist for the last 30 years. In fact, Dr. Joe Vitale said I'm the best hypnotist in the world, which I thought was a pretty nice compliment coming from him.
It is a very good compliment.
Yes, and so I help people to upgrade their subconscious programming. When we are kids growing up, we all experience what I call big T and little t traumas, right? Little t traumas are being embarrassed, getting humiliated, feeling shy, not being picked to be on the team, getting embarrassed in front of the class, things like that. Big T traumas are more of the abuses: verbal abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse. And what I learned is that it's not just those traumatic experiences that we go through, but it's the beliefs that our brain forms without our awareness and without our permission that end up influencing us and sabotaging our happiness and success as adults. So the most common fears and self-limiting beliefs that people have are: I'm not good enough, I'm not safe, I'll be rejected, I'll be abandoned, I'm not worthy, I'm not, there's something wrong with me. Our deepest fear is that I'm not good enough, and because I'm not good enough, I won't be loved. And so because of that, we develop all kinds of dysfunctional coping strategies to try to get people to like us or love us, or to get rid of those feelings of uncertainty or not feeling like we're worthy. And so we eat too much, we drink too much, we spend too much, we attract the wrong kind of people into our lives. We don't have self-confidence or self-esteem. We're highly stressed and always worried about what bad things might happen to us, so we worry. And of course, that all of that significantly impacts our health, because all of the worry creates huge amounts of inflammation, and that we end up releasing into our body for decades. And then all of a sudden we're adults and we have fibromyalgia or lupus or IBS or migraines, so many challenges. And most people go to medicine and they're not ever upgrading those beliefs that are causing so much of it. So that's what I do.
There's quite a lot to unpack there, really. So let's start with a child. How and why do these circuits get wired? Because that's what you're talking about, isn't it? You're talking about neurological wiring. So what's the process of a child, and let's talk about little t, not big T to start off with, because I suppose all of us have little t to some extent.
Yeah. So people will come to me because they are in a corporate job and they want to get a promotion, but they have a really hard time doing public speaking. So they have a hard time leading teams, or they have a hard time promoting a product to clients, because if there's more than 2 or 3 people in the room, all of a sudden they freeze up. And so what I have learned over the years is I will take them back to the moment in time where that fear of not being good enough was created. And people will go back to a time when they were 8 years old or 10 years old, or they're standing in front of the class in third grade, and they don't know the answer, or they had a teacher that made fun of them, or they were punished for not doing a good job. And then they felt humiliated in front of that class. And so they had that experience. But then their brain forms this belief about what that experience means. And for most people, we grow up around others who are also have low self-esteem or low emotional intelligence. Or I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so everybody was very sarcastic, always ripping on each other. You know, it was, and so it was a very hostile environment. And most elementary and middle and high schools are still like that today. And I have my youngest is started as a freshman in high school, and my oldest just graduated high school. So I've been in high school with these two, for years, and it's still the same, how people treat each other, which isn't that great. And so our brain forms this belief that there's something wrong with me. That it's not that my teacher has low maturity or they shouldn't have, made fun of me. It wasn't that the class is just goofing around. It was that there's something wrong with me. And then we grow up with this imposter syndrome, where we grow up feeling like, I'm not lovable, right? I'm not enough. And so we either push people away, or we end up, chasing approval. And of course that never works, because whatever you chase runs away. So now all of a sudden they form this belief that I'm not safe, presenting in front of others. And it gets stuck in their unconscious mind, so it's out of their awareness. Most of the time, they don't even remember that moment in third grade as an adult. And so what I learned is that when I go back to that time and we upgrade that belief and we give them the resources that they did not have at the time. So if we give them that love, that reassurance, that support, that protection, that self-acceptance, and then we upgrade the belief that I'm not good enough to I am more than enough, that I'm not smart enough to I am smart enough to accomplish whatever I want. If we upgrade the belief that I'm not safe to I am safe and I got this, and we shift that energy, and then we have them imagine themselves in this new way, that it immediately impacts how they're showing up as an adult. And all of a sudden they're able to go and present. The very next day, they'll go and they'll have a presentation. They might be a little nervous, but in their mind, instead of making it about themselves and their performance, they're making it about sharing their knowledge, providing value to whoever's in front of you, and they're making it about their audience, not themselves. And they're giving themselves the love that they wish they always would have had, or the self-acceptance or the reassurance. They're not waiting around for other people to give that to them. We're giving it to ourselves. And that's an example of how a little t trauma can end up affecting you as an adult and how you turn it around.
So how does hypnotherapy work in our brain? How do you get us to go back to those situations that we've probably long, forgotten in our conscious mind, and probably trivialize a little bit as well? You sort of think, I need to grow up and get over that. So how do you get people back there? How does hypnotherapy work in our brain?
So hypnosis is about accessing your unconscious mind. Think of your unconscious mind kind of like a library, and it stores your beliefs and it stores your habits. And so if you want to influence your beliefs and habits, you should work with the part of your mind that's containing them. What we tend to do is use our conscious mind through talk therapy and reasoning and logic. But logic does not change behavior. Shifting emotion is what changes behavior. And your emotions are also being driven and influenced by your unconscious program, by your unconscious mind. So hypnosis is a way of getting people into a relaxed, suggestible state of mind, into an alpha brainwave state, so that you can, or alpha and theta brainwave state, so that you can then access those memories. And more importantly, the beliefs that were formed during those experiences. Because that's what I discovered. I did over 15,000 individual sessions. I just hypnotized person after person after person after person. It didn't matter what they came to me for. And I've helped people with every goal there is. And so, but I learned through all those sessions that it didn't matter what the goal was. What mattered is what were the beliefs that were floating around in their unconscious mind. So hypnosis gets you into a relaxed, open, suggestible state of mind. And what most people do, the way that most people, hypnotists, have been trained, is that you get someone into a relaxed, magical state of mind, you get them into a hypnotic trance, and then you give them affirmations in that state of trance where they're suggestible, and then their mind will grab onto those suggestions, and then you'll come out of the trance and you'll start behaving that way. And that can work, but it's very short term, because those affirmations wear off, and then people go back to how they have been trained based on the beliefs that are inside of them. So, a lot of times therapy is like trying to cut the top off of a weed instead of getting to the root and pulling it out. So hypnosis allows you to get to the roots very quickly. And it's really as simple now as get in touch with the feeling of anxiety that comes up inside, or stress, or the feeling that you're feeling blocked. Let's step into that feeling and follow it all the way back to the event or situation that's most responsible for that feeling. And people just subconsciously go back on their own. I'm trusting that their mind is going to take them where they need to go. So it's so simple and easy that people can't, my students, because I teach people how to do my one belief away method, and certify them with this method of hypnosis. And I basically, at the end of the training, give them a manual with 8 experiences. And I'm like, read these to your clients and they'll change right in front of you. And it's true, because I've already did on all the heavy lifting, and it's extraordinary. So now I'm building an army of healers to go out there and rid the world of all this needless emotional suffering.
Well, I think it's wonderful work. And, you touched on earlier how the emotional suffering affects our physiological health, and that's so true, because, our DNA, our DNA responds to our environment, and our environment isn't just, what we're eating and drinking, or our, how much EMF we've got, or, what kind of nighttime exposure we have to light. Our environment is really the thoughts that we have and fear. And there is so much work that's been done looking at how our cells respond to fear and become hypoxic, and then they can't, haven't got enough oxygen, and they can't produce enough energy. And over time, this means the cell itself is not working optimally. So I think this is a whole integral part of a wellness approach, really, is being able to tap into, recognize when you're having those negative thoughts and find a new pathway for them.
Yes, absolutely. I love the work that you're doing, because you can help people to make those physical changes and those physiological changes. But if they're not changing their mindset at the same time, it can be a real uphill battle. So I have as you know, and so I have a client that I got her eating healthy, and she was exercising every day, and yet she still she didn't lose a pound. And even when we had her mindset right, mostly right, I said, how's your cortisol levels? I said, and how's your stress? And she said, well, I'm feeling a little bit better, but I have so much stress at work. And she said, it's interesting you asked me about that, because she said, I just got my blood work back, and on 3 different levels, my cortisol levels were off the chart in 3 different tests. And I said, well, that's why you're not losing weight, because of that. And it was interesting, because we had worked a lot on her stress, and in general in life, she was feeling a lot better. But because of this job, her job was literally keeping her from losing weight because it was so stressful. So it's the mind-body connection. And when you want to improve your health, you can't just do the mind part with me, and you can't just do the physical part with you. You got to do both.
Yeah.
I was so excited to hang out with you and
Yeah.
have this conversation with you, because you need both.
It's what makes us such a great team, really.
Yes.
And, you're absolutely right. And we need to, for your client, we need to be giving her the nutrients that the adrenal glands, that the nervous system needs, so that they do have the energy for those cells to do their proper cellular function. But it's a very interconnected, integrated process, and it's certainly so important.
Yes. Well, I'm going to be sending her your way.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. I was thinking about what you were saying about traditional hypnotherapy, and then the difference in your approach, which is, that long-term upgrading of beliefs, because I think that's something that, people go well for a little while and then they regress, and those neuro pathways that have been wired just kick straight back in. So how long does it take? You're saying one session people will feel better, but overall, how long does it take?
So I find that people have significantly positive results in 4 hours. And we do a session 1 hour once a week for 4 weeks in a row. So it's not 4 hours in a row. And I do that because people need time. People need time to, once they have this experience, to kind of think about it and let it unfold in their life. And so the first session will upgrade their biggest fear. And then in session 2, sometimes all those toxic emotions will come up. Now, I don't think emotions in general are toxic unless you get stuck in them, like anger, hurt, rage, depression, guilt, shame. If you get stuck in those emotions, that's when it becomes toxic. And so when you're healing somebody that's been through abuses, and then all that emotion comes up, and then this next session, we release those emotions in a very natural, healing, fast way. And it's so empowering for people to be able to release that old energy and then fill back up and recharge their mind, body, and spirit with love and peace and calm and ease. It's just so extraordinary. And then the third session, we will, the whole time I'm giving them new resources, new ways to activate the relaxation response, new ways to create more of a life that they love living by upgrading the quality of their thinking and the kinds of questions that they ask and what they focus on. Because what you think about, you focus, or what you think about comes about, and whatever you focus on most of the time, your life becomes that. And most people are focused on what they don't want, what they don't like, what they're unhappy about. And that's why they keep getting more of it. And so, I'll say, what do you want to accomplish? And they'll tell me what they want to get away from. And I'll say, well, what do you want? And then they go blank. They just tell me, well, this is what I want to get away from. And so you got to name it to claim it. And so many people don't really know what they want. They just know what they're trying to get away from. And that's what keeps them stuck. So we build these new skills and new resources and build their self-confidence and make them feel more in control. And so that's why this process works so incredibly well. And I've used it to help people with every goal there is. And it's worked incredibly well with everything except someone who has really extreme OCD and that struggles with anorexia, things like that. But I have 100% success rate with working with women with bulimia. The binging and purging, all of them have stopped, going through the process for all these years. Anytime anyone's ever come to me for that, they've gotten amazing results, and just about everything else as well. So, and it's not because of me, it's because your mind is so powerful, and I've just had so much experience that I've figured out the right formulas, the right experiences, and the right combinations. Musical notes, if you don't have them in the right order, it's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
You take some musical notes, you put them in the right order, and all of a sudden your favorite song is born. And that's what I've done with self-esteem and helping break people free from the trauma of their past and PTSD. I work a lot with veterans on overcoming post-traumatic stress due to combat and deployment. And it's amazing how fast you can turn things around by upgrading these beliefs of not being good enough or feeling guilty that you survived, and stuff like that. So it's pretty remarkable. And now I'm just excited about getting it out to as many people as possible. The tools that I'm using, Susan, aren't new. They've been around for a long time, like hypnotic regression. That's not new. That's been around for a long time. It's just the unique combination that I put them in, and the way that I'm going right after those beliefs and just infusing people with self-love. I think that is what's unique. And I've taken so much of the complicated jargon and all the other stuff that we don't really use out of it. And I'm just getting people relaxed and just pouring love into them and getting them to do that to themselves while they upgrade their beliefs about what's possible and who they are. And that's when magic is released. And it is amazing.
And so are you helping people also define where they want to go, what they want for the future, how they want their life to unfold and how they want to be present in that life?
Yeah, and it's interesting because sometimes they get really clear about what kind of job they want or what kind of relationship they want to be in or what kind of body they want to move around in or how they want to feel about themselves. Other people, they're not quite sure exactly what the future is going to unfold for them. They just know the feelings that they want to experience as they go through life. So I want more passion. I want to feel playful. I want to feel like I have purpose and mission. I want to move through life with a sense of gratitude. And so they'll say, God, whatever experiences you want to give me that will satisfy these feelings, go for it. I'm ready to receive. And they just get clear on the emotions that they'd like to experience instead of specifically saying, I want a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Although some people want that Ferrari.
Yeah.
And a specific model. And I'm not a car guy. A lot of my clients are. They'll know the specific model, the color of the seats, everything. And that's good, because the more clear you are on what you want, the easier it is to express it and unleash it in your life. Not to go get it and not for it to come to you. It's already here. I believe it's already here. It's just we can't tune into it because we have these blinders on, and it might be right here, but we won't see it because of these beliefs. If you think about radio waves, they're all around us, and you get a radio tuner and you can tune into the right frequency, and all of a sudden the music's already there.
Yeah,
Music
and that's
and
clear.
jazz and rock and roll and country. You just got to tune into it so that it can be released. And I think that's how it is for our goals as well.
So how does hypnotherapy work with other things like meditation, and mindfulness? How do they integrate together?
So mindfulness is a process of walking around, being in the present moment, noticing what kind of thoughts you're having, and deciding whether you want to reinforce them or replace them. That's what mindfulness is. It's like your brain has a steering wheel and you've got to drive it. If you're going 60 miles an hour down a highway and you let go of the wheel, you're probably going to crash and run into stuff. So you've got to make sure that you're directing yourself where you want to end up. And that's what mindfulness is. Meditation, there's different kinds, but traditional meditation is about getting clear and not wanting anything, but just being present in the moment without attachments, without feeling like you need this or that to be happy. Instead, you just sit in the moment and get quiet. They say when you meditate, that's when you stop talking and you start listening so that you can hear God answer your prayers. So meditation is about getting quiet. Hypnotherapy, in my opinion, is more about goal attainment. Whatever your goal it is, whether it's a material goal or it's an inner goal, hypnotherapy is about retraining your mind, retraining your unconscious mind with a new set of beliefs that you choose to support as an adult, rather than just your life being run by the beliefs that you formed as a kid or beliefs that you absorbed because of the environment around you. So, most of us are being run by our inner 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And when you look at your lives, you're like, yeah, I can see that.
Mm.
So I spend all my money, I eat whatever I want, I get stubborn, whatever it is, we dig in, and or I feel sorry for myself. And so hypnosis is kind of like meditation on steroids.
Because a lot of people, we try and use willpower. We talk about being motivated and having willpower. So we're trying to force ourselves into achieving these goals, mostly by denying things as well,
Yes.
So I think this is a much nicer way where there's real clarity there. But I still imagine you're going to have to be aware of those thoughts that just pop into our head all the time or come up as a natural response to a situation, one maybe that we'd experienced before and had some negative feedback from.
Yeah. We're always going to have fearful thoughts that come into our mind because our original brain, our lizard brain that was developing before we got these prefrontal lobes, that was all about survival. And so it was all about protection. It was all about keeping us from being eaten or being killed. And so it was always worrying about what bad thing could happen because it was trying to keep us alive. It wasn't trying to scare us, it was trying to prepare us. And so that part of us still exists. It's just that, now we're worried about how am I going to pay my bills? Right? Or is this person going to cheat on me? Or am I going to have type 2 diabetes? Or, am I going to be in this pain forever? Or I'm never going to be able to achieve my goals, right? And so now we have these worries and fears that come up. And when they come up, you can't do anything about if they pop into your mind. I have negative thoughts that pop into my mind all the time. I can only do something once they're there. And once they're there, then I say, is this useful? Is this helping me? Right? Is this moving me closer to what I want or farther away? And so being mindful means that you're taking a look at the scary thoughts and you're saying, is there a message here? Is there something I should pay attention to? Right? So sometimes our scary thoughts can be a messenger. Sometimes our scary thoughts are just scary thoughts. And we're like, no, I used to think that. I used to buy into that. I'm not doing that anymore. Cancel, clear. Right? Sometimes we get these thoughts and we're like, well, that's, fear maybe that I picked up from hearing the news or from somebody else that was being in fear and it got into my mind. Or it reminded me of a situation from 10 years ago that I was in, but I'm not that person anymore. I've grown. So then we would ask a powerful question like, well, what do I want to have happen? How do I want this to go? And we start to take those scary movies and we give them more desirable outcomes, happier endings. What do I want to have happen? Where's the creative opportunity, in this scary situation? And so we start to redirect our thoughts and become better at problem solving or finding solutions. And if you're always looking to solve a problem or you're always looking to find a solution, you're going to find them because that's what you're focusing on. Most people get stuck on the problem itself and they keep asking lousy questions like, why does this keep happening? That just makes you go in a circle, right? Now, it's okay sometimes to ask why, because you might, why do I keep finding myself in this situation? The answer is, well, because I have beliefs that keep causing me to show up in this way, to behave in this way, to react in this way, and I need to upgrade those beliefs. That's what I need to do. And then once you upgrade the beliefs, now it's all about reinforcing those beliefs and using the other tools that you end up learning so that you're able to feel calm, resourceful, in control, reassured. I like to say, Susan, it doesn't matter what shows up. What matters is how you show up. And you can show up strong and courageous when, in any kind of situation.
And just confront those thoughts and have a look at the meaning that you're attaching to them.
That's right.
And so what about with anxiety and panic attacks, and when the thoughts start to get to that point where you're, I have people, and a number of people, who have concerns about their health, where they are worried that they're going to die. Like, this is a real fear. And then they start having panic attacks.
Yes. So, well, you are going to die. We're all going to die, right? The question is, are you living? Are you really living? Because if you're spending all your time worried about dying, then you're not really living. You're not loving people, loving yourself, focusing on what you can do, taking action every day, listening to your advice. Because instead, people just spiral. And a panic attack is just when you feel so overwhelmed with emotion that you just flip out, because your brain is looking for any way to get out of this situation so you don't have to feel the fear anymore. Because most anxiety, we just fear. We're afraid of that feeling, that sinking feeling in the pit of our stomach that makes us feel like I'm not safe and something bad's going to happen and I'm not going to be able to handle it. And it makes us feel small and weak and worthless or hopeless, and so I had horrible anxiety for so much of my life, and that's why I got into this, and that's why I do what I do, because of the anxiety I had. And anxiety often for people has become a habit. It's like a fire alarm that keeps going off even when there's no fire. And so panic attacks are when like all the fires go off. And the biggest thing about a panic attack for most people is they're afraid that they don't know when it's going to happen. And they're afraid that it's going to happen when they're driving and they're going to hurt somebody else, or when they're in the middle of a store and they're going to flip out and have and humiliate themselves. Right? And so all these other emotions come up as well. But I can help people get rid of panic attacks in 30 minutes. And I've done it forever. It's one of my favorite things when someone says I have panic attacks. I'm like, yay, because I know that I'm going to be able to help them significantly, because you'll follow it back to the very first time they ever had one. And it's the situation that was going on around them and a feeling of helplessness and not being enough. And we'll go change that. And then we'll show them how to activate the relaxation response, because you can't be tight and relax at the same time. So you can't have a panic attack and feel calm and relaxed at the same time. And so I show them how to activate the relaxation response as well, and then give them new ways of showing up in those situations, and it changes their life. And then with anxiety, it takes a little more time of just teaching people how to upgrade their habits, their thinking habits, so that instead of scaring themselves, they're preparing themselves. Instead of constantly firing off the fight or flight response, they're activating the relaxation response. Instead of creating an environment where everything's always stressful and doom and gloom, they've created an environment around them where they feel a sense of peace and they have loving messaging going into their mind. Maybe they don't have a calm environment that they live in, but they can go to the library, and now you can get on your phone and you can download meditations and positive affirmations from YouTube for free and listen to them, while you're sleeping at night. And you'll wake up in the morning feeling a sense of ease. So people have access to more positive, empowering programs now more than ever before. Even my hypnosis certifications, I do them all online now. So you don't even have to travel anywhere. So the technology and where we're at in the 21st century is extraordinary. So it's still the fact that most people just don't know that this exists. They don't realize that they're walking around with this tremendous power. As my friend Les Brown always says, you've got greatness inside of you. You don't realize that we're walking around with this greatness inside of us.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do know it, but you don't know how to activate it. So it feels like it's always just out of reach. And so this allows you to finally make that dream a reality.
And so why is working with someone to do this so much better than trying to do it on your own? Because, I think we think we can read a book, or we grasp it intellectually, and we think, oh, I've got that.
Yeah.
But, so why is working with someone like yourself so important?
Because you cannot see your own blind spots, right? You cannot see your own blind spots. So when I talked about before about what you want being right there, most people don't know this exists. They're just going, that's not true though. I've done all the seminars and I've read all the books and I've walked on fire with Tony Robbins and I'm all this, and it still ends up being some belief that they weren't aware of. That was making them feel not enough or held back in some way. And it's, you know, I had a friend that used to say, you can't see the label when you're in the bottle. You can't see the label when you're in the bottle, right? You cannot be objective with yourself because you're only experiencing it through the story that you're telling yourself, through your subjective reality. When you have someone reflecting that back to you, especially someone who's trained in listening, who knows what to listen for, then they will spot really quickly, oh, well, you're never focusing on what you want. You're always focusing on what you don't want, and that's why you keep getting it. Oh, when you describe your reality, you're using these words like, you know, I'm not as stressed as I used to be. I'm not feeling nearly as anxious as I was. Most of the pain has gone away. Well, all your brain is hearing is stress and anxiety and pain when you describe your experience. Instead, you would say, I'm feeling more calm. I have such a sense of ease. I feel so much more comfort in my body now. And now you're hearing calm and ease and comfort. You wouldn't even have caught that you were talking that way because you're just talking. But when you're with somebody who's skilled at listening and someone who knows these blind spots, they can catch it and recognize it in you quickly and then give you a new perspective, a new set of ideas, a new set of tools. You cannot grow with the same information that you currently have. You have to get new information to be able to have new ideas and new breakthroughs. And so it's essential that you work with somebody else. You can do affirmations and plenty of stuff and mindfulness on your own, but real growth happens in a relationship and not just by yourself.
I think that's really good, because, you know, I find quite a lot of my work, people are a little bit fearful of wanting to make change as well. So they have this sense that there's something better out there, something, you know, they could live their life better, fulfill their potential better. You know, in my line of work about, you know, the health, you know, the actual health that you need to be able to fulfill your potential. That's one of the foundations, you know, of this building block of your body. But they're quite fearful about making the change. What will that mean? How will that be sacrifice? What about my relationships with the other people in my life? How are they going to be affected?
Yeah, and notice what we talked about. They're coming from a place of lack and scarcity, and the real fear isn't that it's going to get better. The real fear is somehow it could get worse. Right? And so that's what keeps them in pain, because they don't just do that with working with you. They do that with everything.
Yeah.
They do that with everything. So if I were you, I would be talking about on my website or make an audio program before you even work with somebody. And I would just talk about, these are the 5 most common myths that people have about healing. And then I would bring up every objection that people have. You know, well, if I get healthier, my family might all of a sudden leave me, right? If I get healthier, then, I mean, I had many times, I've had women that came in to lose weight, and then they would say, you know, one of the reasons why I've kept this weight on is because I'm afraid that if I get thinner, then I'm going to get attracted, you know, other men are going to be attracted to me, and that either feels unsafe, or I feel like maybe I might not be able to resist, you know, and I don't want to do that to my husband. I don't want to have an affair, you know, and so I'm just going to keep myself this way. And once they had that realization, a lot of times they stopped the program because they were like, good. They're like, hey, guess what? I don't want to lose the weight anymore. I understand now. It's not happening to me. I'm making this conscious decision. And so people just need to recognize that their biggest fears usually never happen, and they never come true, hardly ever. And so we're just torturing ourselves for no reason. And, you know, other people are like, well, what if I do this and it doesn't work, and now I feel like I got scammed, or I feel like I just lost this money and now I got burned and now I look like a fool. right? And so now there's just another reason to stay stuck because they have this deep fear of looking bad or of looking dumb, because so many people have this issue of not being smart enough, not being good enough, especially women, because there was so much sexism in the world that they're often raised to believe that, which is ridiculous. And so, we have all kinds of reasons to not do something.
And sometimes there's so much security in hanging on to who you are because you're familiar with it and you're familiar with the sensations and you're happy, you feel that your thought patterns are based on truth and reality. And so there's a certain amount of comfort that comes with that.
Well, short-term, immediate gratification comfort, because people will say, well, I stress eat because in the moment it makes me feel better, but then I hate myself for it.
Yep.
And my knees hurt, and my back hurts all the time, and I'm in pain all the time. So that's not really comfortable, and so we've got to blow up some of these ideas, because if people are coming to you because they're sick and they're in pain and they're feeling terrible, but then they don't want to change because they feel good and comfortable, well, there's a conflict there. Which is it? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I help people stop smoking, they'll be like, well, I like to smoke. It relaxes me. I'm like, it relaxes you? You're all tight and stressed. You smoke 40 cigarettes a day.
Yeah.
You're the opposite of relaxed.
Yeah.
And so, but we get these ideas in our head that are false. Now, you're right. We do have psychological needs, and one of them is for certainty, a sense of being in control. And so if we have a certain routine and we're used to life being a certain way, and this is who our identity is based on our experiences, then we might not want to let that go because it makes us feel safe, even though our life isn't happy. We call them comfort zones, but they're not usually comfortable, but they are familiar. And that familiarity makes people feel a certain level of comfort. And they're afraid that if I let go of that, then I won't have anything, because they're not thinking about how much more value they could have in life, how much more comfortable they could become, or even how they could expand their comfort zone. They're thinking, I'm going to lose what I have. I'm in the ocean drowning, and you want to take my life jacket off. Yes, because I have a boat. Let's get your ass out of the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're like, no, I'm drowning in the water, but I have this life jacket, so I'm hanging on.
What do you say to people who believe they can't be hypnotized?
Have you ever watched television?
Have you used your cell phone?
Ever used your cell phone? Ever seen advertising? Then you can be hypnotized. Yes. But that's just another fear. What they see are the movies or the shows where people are running around dancing like chickens and acting silly, and they're like, well, you're not going to make me do that, right? But everybody can be hypnotized except for somebody that doesn't want to be. Anybody can learn how to use meditation mostly, unless you have, psychotic breaks, or you flat out are resisting, or you have something that's going on with your physical wiring in your brain that just makes you not able to focus. But otherwise, you can do it. I've worked with people that, were had lower IQs, or that were emotionally handicapped, although I don't really like that word, because they were beautiful souls in amazing other ways, right? But and they responded really well. Developmentally challenged people have responded incredibly well to the hypnosis. People that had Asperger's, autism responded really well to the hypnosis. Even 5-year-old kids. I worked with a 5-year-old the other day. She responded really well. And I wasn't even sure that was going to work because she was so young. And so people, and my oldest client was 91 years old, Tempest.
Wow.
Wanted to lose 15 pounds. She lost 12 and was delighted. And so, so I think that if you want to, you can.
Well, I think that, as we were talking right in the beginning, it's, this, our health, our well-being, our fulfilling up a potential in life requires such a broad, holistic approach of so many different aspects. And I just love knowing that I've got you out there and I can refer people to you and help them get their mindset and overcome some of these self-limiting beliefs and these fears that they have, so that when they come back to do the work with me, they're actually ready to be engaged and ready to embrace it fully, rather than, as you were saying, putting up those obstacles.
Yes, that just delays their results. And
Yeah.
I feel the same way about you, Susan, knowing that you're there and knowing that I can send people to you, or I can ask you about stuff that you've helped me and my family, and you're just so good at what you do, and you offer so much value to so many people who need it. So we do make a very effective team. And there's always three of us on the team, you, me, and whoever we're working with, and they got to do their part too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tim, can you tell people where they can find you? I'm just in the process of getting you actually put on my website so that people will be able to find you there as well if they check my website out. But where can they find you? You've got a podcast, You've written how many books? You've written so many books.
6 books. So the easiest way to do it and to get to know me a little bit better is to get a free copy of my new audiobook called The Power of Your Unconscious Mind. So I'm going to give everybody a free copy of that today for being a part of your podcast. So if you go to timshurr.com/gift, GIFT, like a present. So timshurr.com/gift. And you'll get a free copy of that audiobook. And it's how I developed the One Belief Away method. It gives you tips and tricks for how to use the power of your mind to create your life by design. And it shares I share lots of stories of how I've helped people achieve impossible goals, and using the power that's already inside of you. So that'll be a great way for us to connect.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. I'll make sure I put that in the show notes so that everybody can access that. And so timshurr.com is the best place to find you in terms of your website. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I do Zoom sessions all over the world with clients. So it doesn't matter where you live. If you need some help with the mental work, then reach out, and we offer free consultations. So
it's wonderful work, Tim. And what about on social media? Are you on social media? Can people follow you anywhere?
Yep, I'm all over the place on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube. So we do have our podcast. I've interviewed some of the most extraordinary people on the planet. And so when I was doing that, I haven't done it for a little while, but it's there. And so, lots of ways to reach out and say hi, and lots of tremendous amount of free information that I'm constantly sharing with everybody.
That's great. And are people able to connect with you personally and just have a chat to see if this is something that would be really worthwhile for them to do?
Yes, I don't have as many spots available as I did at one time. So, but yeah, if you message me in some way, or if you go to timshurr.com, or my hypnosis website is Indy, INDY, hypnosis.com, INDY, hypnosis.com. That's my hypnosis website, and you can, there's an opportunity to schedule a free consultation. So if you're really interested in working together and getting some really amazing progress, then you can sign up for one of those spots.
Oh, that's amazing. Hey, Tim, it's just, I always love talking to you. I always just feel better after I've talked to you. It's like there's so much opportunity out there that, that we're all able to take advantage of when we develop the skills to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. This has been a real pleasure. It's always fun hanging out with you, Susan. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's been a real honor, and thank you for all the work that you do, because I know you're making such a big difference for so many people out there. So keep up the good work, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. All right. We'll talk again soon.